Hello everyone. Today I'll be going over everything that was announced and to be released in the dev trailer. So this is obviously for the Foxhole naval update. Uh, and let's jump into the biggest thing, of course, the ships. So these ships are gonna be fully walkable. They're gonna have above deck crews as well as below deck. So you'll see these large ships that are basically bunker bases at sea. They're not even on the same class as other vehicles, which will need dozens of crew members to fully operate. So you got the above deck and below deck aspects of it. Um, and then there's also going to be public and private features. So you can have, random people on it helping repair, transporting ammo, but you can squad lock some of the more important features like the control room where you can actually move your ship around. So as you can see, there's a bunch of different subsystems. You got ammo rooms, the engine room, barracks, gun control, sensors, the bridge, as well as a bunch of interactables above the ship, like the anchor, and you've got doors that can actually seal and prevent fluids from getting around, automatic defenses, stairs, ladders, gangways, all that. So these ships, they work with a different health point system that you actually, when you get hit, you get leaks, and if your ship fills up with water, it sinks. And so you have to close these leaks. And if you don't, you'll sink. So these ships, these main guns are direct 150 and some direct 120, where you can directly fire them, as well as having automatic defenses. And then you can also use all the crew weapons. So it's not like a barge and you're not allowed to use ATRs on it. You can use anything you want. So these leaks, these compartments, you can actually close the doors and they'll be sealed. And so you can have a part that's fully flooded, but your boat will still be able to float. It won't sink. You have to, if you want to get rid of this water, you've got to bail it out of the ship entirely. Um, so you've got dynamic damage locations. So if you get hit here, then a leak will appear. So you got to actually repair the leaks below the waterline first, because if it's above the waterline, it actually won't get water in your ship. Multiple hits will increase the size of a leak, and if this section is flooded, the ship is gonna start sinking this way, which is honestly pretty revolutionary for Foxhole. A lot of cool features. So we've got the Warden, the Kanovish Naval Command. We get a battleship, a submarine, and a gunboat. And then the Colonials get a gunboat, a destroyer, and their battleship. So let's look at the gunboats first. These are going to replace what we already have in the game. So on first glance, what you'll notice is that the Wardens get a point in the front and the back for their tripods, as well as the gunboat's a lot more protected for the crew. So it's going to be a lot harder to just kill them all. And then, of course, having a tripod in the front means you'll be able to shoot whoever you're chasing, with one in the back means you'll be able to shoot when you're running away. Whereas the Colonials get one on either side. However, another difference is the Wardens get a heavy mortar, whereas the Colonials get a mortar cannon, suggesting that maybe the Colonial version is better for PvP, oops, whereas the Warden version is maybe more for PvE. Next, we'll talk about the battleships. So the Wardens get the Callahan class, whereas the Colonials get the Titan. And we should note that you need 16 people just to crew all of the different systems and guns, but you'll need more than this to actually repair and reload everything. So, so even full clan operations might need to bring in randos to help out. So let's talk about the main armaments first. The Warden battleships get three one dual 150s, whereas the Colonials get two triple 150s. Sorry. So basically the same amount of 150. However, the Wardens get an extra 120 millimeter, where so that's an advantage for the Wardens. They get the same number of HMDs for their secondary armaments. However, the Wardens are getting four 30 mil deck guns, whereas the Colonials get two 40 mil. The Warden ship also has an extra naval turret. So it seems that the Wardens got a bit stronger of a ship. However, it does need more crew to activate, obviously. But we obviously don't know the stats of these, so there could be more hidden stats that make the Colonial one a bit better as well. Now let's talk about the most asymmetrical thing. The Colonials get the Conqueror class destroyer, which, if you look, it actually is requiring the same amount of crew as a battleship. It has two dual 120s, one dual 40 mil. Whereas, and then it has the depth charge launchers, which will be useful since the Wardens have a submarine, which can actually sink down in the water using the z-axis. Um, and this thing basically uses torpedoes to work, as well as having its own little dual 40 mil. So the destroyer is a speedy hunter that's actually made directly to counter the Warden submarine. It's got these depth charge launchers. It's got its own sonar system to track the submarine. And it's got sea mines, the depth charge launchers. Whereas the submarine has a bunch of new cool features. It can't be detected by conventional intel. It needs to be detected by sonar. It has a battery system, so when it goes under, uh, it can only stay down there for so long until it needs to come up. Um, so it's got a ballast system to go up and down in the water. So it's gonna be using the z-axis. It's not like you press a button and you go under and you're just kind of like below everyone. You actually are going up and down, which is really cool. It's because it means we might actually have aircraft in Foxhole one day. And then if you go down too low, you're actually gonna start taking damage. And so you can see there's sea mines, there's a depth charge going off. Just a lot of cool stuff. So I just want to go back briefly and talk about this. So, the destroyer, it's gonna be able to have a bigger impact, not just because it counters the submarine, but because you'll be able to, go up to a bridge and help your side win the bridge fight a lot easier. So pound for pound, whereas the submarine is only really good for attacking naval targets. However, so pound for pound, I would say that the destroyer is better. However, we need to take a look at the crew count because this thing needs 12 crew minimum, which, if you have four guys, helping deliver ammo and repairing, means that, you can have two submarines crewed for every destroyer crewed. Um, on the flip side, if these things are insanely expensive, then you might not be able to do that just because of the resource limitations on the map. But I think this interaction is going to be really cool, and, um, I don't think anyone can predict if one side is going to have advantage over the other yet. So we've got also, this is the new naval ammunition. There's sea mines, there's depth charges, and torpedoes, of course. All right, so this is the naval part of the naval updates. Now we'll talk about the amphibious part because this has gotten a huge update as well, almost as big as the pure Navy side. So you can now perform naval assaults or amphibious assaults anywhere, not just on breaches. Um, there's a bunch of new stuff to help you keep it supplied. You can deliver. It's a lot easier to deliver field weapons, armor, equipment, than it was before, and you're not going to be spawning at the beach anymore. You're going to be spawning out at sea and then going in there. So you're spawning at the base ship, and then you can deploy your little amphibious assault boats. And then once you get there, let's talk about the boats first, or the amphibious assaults, the landing ships. They're basically the same. It There's not really much difference between them. Not really much asymmetry. They're kind of just reskinned. But once you get there, you can actually break them down for BMATs, so you don't have to like ferry people across anymore, or ferry the boats to and from. And then they're also going to be very cheap, going to be very maneuverable and fast. And then you can also put tanks and stuff directly in this package. So if you have like a tank, you can take a crane and put it directly in the boat from the storage ship. So this is the new assault storage ship. It's got its own little crane, as you can see, and it can put this tank inside the ship directly from here. You could not do that before with a barge. Really, you had to unpack it and you had to roll it in, and this is going to be make it a lot easier. It does also seem that this is going to be able to carry more vehicles. The Iron Ship could only carry 5. This might be able to carry a lot more. We don't really know yet. So it's called the Bluefin. It's going to be multi-factional. Kind of like the Iron Ship, basically. Except you're probably going to want this a lot more for the amphibious assaults. You're also going to be able to make a field pier. So if you want somewhere to dock in the back line, or if you just made a naval invasion, if you've secured the beach, then you can start making this so your ships can actually dock. Now let's talk about the logistics side, because we have this new way of collecting resource through the oil platforms. These things extract heavy oil as well as a new resource called rare alloys. They're gonna be in the middle of the ocean, so you're gonna want to fight over these basically if you want to build a navy, and they're in the islands and coastal regions. These the rare alloys are used to make these ship parts, and these ship parts are used to make the ships. And so you take these ship parts, and then you go to the dry dock area, and then that's going to be how you actually make the ships. So these are going to be like strategic resources in the late game content, and you can actually also find them by mining salvage as well, but there are going to be in the offshore platforms as well. So now let's talk about the map expansions. We have 6 new areas on the map, and then these are all going to be islands, and so they're not going to be connected even by bridges. They're going to be fully separated from the rest of the map, and you'll have to naval invade them in order to take control. So this is what the new map is going to look like. As you can see, 6 new areas, and this is what they look like a little bit zoomed in. They're not even connected to each other really, except for the fingers, because of course colonial bias, as you know. And yeah, so you have to naval invade them to take them over. And then these observation towers are also getting an update. They will actually, you can point them in a direction, and then you get a huge amount of area over that direction. Yeah, so I'm sure the lieutenant colonels and stuff, they'll have a joy just shooting all the random people trying to change its location. So if you want to commit suicide, that's what I recommend doing. Alright, so now let's go to the land part. We've got 2 new tanks. These are variants of the battle tanks. They're basically the same. They're 150s attached to a battle tank, and I assume you take a battle tank and then you make these variants from it. The rocket platforms are also getting an update. Instead of capturing them on the map, you now have to build them, and then you have intelligence centers, which you can use for targeting, and you can only target the region you're in or a neighboring region. And then it's also taking rare alloys to make. Now, for this stuff I'm most anticipating, you can now tow your field weapons, which I find extremely cool. I've been looking forward to this feature for years, basically, but we never thought it was going to happen. You can tow them with trucks and you can tow them with half tracks. You can. These are now going to be classified as heavy field guns, so you have to have a truck in order to move them, basically. So the rocket arty for the Wardens and the 75, and then 94 and 120 for the Colonials. Um, there are also going to be two new field weapons. These are going to be early game anti-tank. They use 20 millimeter. They're basically the same. This one's kind of single shot but does more damage, whereas the Colonial one is more rapid fire. Now these seem to be pretty similar, but Wardens are getting a huge buff in the early game. The reason is you could already kill the Warden armored cars and the heavy armored car with just machine guns, but uh, the Colonials could, but the Wardens could not kill the tankettes with their field machine guns. And so this is basically, I don't see a reason why you would use these really against armored cars because the machine guns already shred them, but this is going to be very great for the Wardens. Um, so let's talk about, there's also three other vehicles added. So there's a Warden heavy half truck, um, the Colonial heavy truck, and the Warden heavy truck. The reason the Warden's got a half track is because there's the new system with towing is everything now requires engine power in order to tow. You can only do it with the trucks and the half tracks, I believe. And so the normal trucks though are gonna require, they won't have as much engine power, whereas your heavier trucks will have more engine power. The light half tracks are not gonna have as much engine power as the heavy half tracks either. And since the Wardens only had, um, you know, the Colonials had a light half track and a heavy half track, so now the Wardens need to have a light half track and a heavy half track. So that's that. You'll also have these transport trailers. So you can attach these to the backs of your trucks as well. So you get one for materials, so like your B mats, one for fuel, so petrol or diesel, and then one for resources like scrap or components. And that's about everything. The only slide I have left is for important dates if you're interested in that. October 10th is when the dev branch opens. October 18th is when you can have a dev blog about the concept art if you're interested in that. 23rd will be the pre-war patch and test war, and then the 26th is when we'll have the naval warfare. So that will be cool. Thanks everybody for watching, and I hope you have a great day. I will see you all later.